Good afternoon. This is Dmitry Sitkovetsky, and this is Q&A with Dima Transformation, the Art of Reinvention in the Time of the Pandemic. I have a very, very special guest with me this afternoon. It's a friend of most of my life, also the musician that I've been on stage probably more often than with anyone else, with possible exception of my mother. But I think he is way up there. This is Boris Garlitsky. Welcome to the program, and great to have you here. Really, you're a man of so many talents, which will be clear in the course of our program. So it's great that you could join us from Paris. Now, we met sometime in late 60s when we were in our teens. And I know you so from your age, maybe 15. But what I don't know as well is where it all began. I know that you come from a very musical family, but you went to a different music school than mine. I went to Central Music School, you went to Ignatian Institute. So let's start from the beginning. How did you start? Why the violin, and so forth?
So finally we can talk seriously.
Absolutely, after all these years.
Yeah.
After all these
years. I didn't have so many choice. I didn't think about anything but violin. My father was a famous teacher, especially for kids and youngsters. My mother was a violinist, the pupil of Jan Polski, and she studied with the same time with Leonid Kogan, your father, and many phenomenal violinists. But 1941, she decided to go to be a nurse for the Soviet army during the war, and she was in a war 6 years until 8th of August 45, because she went to Japan. It was not enough to go to Berlin, and she went to Japan with the Red Army, with the Soviet army.
Of course, so Japan is 1941. She started when the war started.
Yeah, as a volunteer immediately. Immediately she went. She quit conservatory. Yampolsky was very much upset, and really? It's very funny story. He told, she was so afraid of the harmonic at the end of second movement of Saint-Saëns concerto. And she was not afraid to go to be a part
and risk her life, her life all the time.
So it's a long story, and my father gave me violin when I was 6 years old, and she immediately told me, "This is not a toy. This is not a toy." He just did not want me to use the violin as a toy. It was a serious business immediately. And so since then, he taught me up to 2 hours each day during 10 years, each day, which sounds amazing, absolutely amazing now. From looking back, I don't understand it.
So from 6 to 16, you spent every day 2 hours with your father.
Yeah, and he was sort of course, he was sort of mentor for me, and he was quite nice, very serious, but nice to me. But I have had so much respect. I never could ask him. I was afraid maybe to ask him to give me the day off. I asked my mom,
maybe one day I could
just ask my dad if I could have And I always get his permission to have a day off, always.
Of course.
I
But you
didn't
never ask him directly.
no,
You never ask him directly.
no, I don't know
Always
why, I just prefer, yeah. I think it's more respect.
I think so, yeah, because you didn't want him to feel that you could do now. Maybe it's less important to have a lesson with him. Maybe you didn't want to hurt his feelings. Yeah,
possible.
probably that.
Yeah,
Probably that.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
incredible. Now I have another question from our. Just you continue after that. But since you mentioned your father, what did he have? Because a mutual friend asked that he was known for a special method that he developed for children. Since you're talking about it, maybe you could also answer that question.
Absolutely. I expect the question. His method calls, I would say, step by step, шаг за шагом. Step by step.
Yeah. Шаг за шагом. Step by step.
So, it's a fantastic school for the beginners, starting from the open strings and ending with sort of fugato, I would say. So through the double stop and so. The thing is that the people very often ask me, what did he tell you when he was teaching? What it was? What is the trick?
Yeah.
And I always disappoint them because I don't remember at all concretely what did he say. It was so natural. If you would ask me, Boris, what did you eat for breakfast 19 December 1975, I wouldn't tell you. Probably I drank tea, for sure. Yeah, so
eggs and maybe some bread, but that's about it.
Yeah, the thing is, now I think that what I'm telling, he's telling through my mouth. I think I'm telling his words, I think, because everything I know about the violin skills, the technique, it's him, for sure. I went to Yankelevich class where I met you, and Mr. Yankelevich did not change me the position of the one thing anywhere. Nothing. He just he was trying to continue. But I've been set fantastically well. The thing is very important. The very important thing, the violin, it's not a toy. This is a beginning for the kids. And also, I just remember that he told me, listen, the position of somebody who is listening music, if you look him from his back, and somebody who is playing the music are similar. You should be absolutely, as a listener, as natural as a listener. Yeah, that's the rest. I think what I'm teaching now, the way I'm teaching it his way.
His way, I'm sure. But what we cannot, of course, when they talk about great actors, for instance, that we see in the movies, the great actors are so fascinating, not by what they say, but what they don't say. When you're trying to figure out, it's being in the presence of a great teacher, I'm sure made you also playing for him very different. For 2 hours, for 10 years, you were playing in the presence of somebody you loved, you respected, and you feared in a good way. You feared not to be up to that standard. That's basically the fear. I mean, you were not. He was a very peaceful man. He wasn't one of like Paganini's father who used to beat him up or lock him down. He was but the responsibility and he gave you the relationship to, like, started with your mother. It's not a toy, but he gave you a wonderful set of ethics. You know how what violin and music is going to mean for you from the beginning till this time when we are talking. You know, because this is all
Right.
on the very moment, and you've carried that as long as I know you. So
Absolutely. And I got used to do not practice a lot, but each day,
yeah,
which is that it's just in my
you keep
blood.
in touch. Yeah, this is, yeah, because
Yeah.
if I don't play the violin for a couple of days, and you know, I'm always in touch with music, and now I'm sure I spend more time transcribing
Yeah.
music than practicing it, and maybe more time with scores than actually practicing. But if a day passes and I don't have any kind of active connection with music, I begin to feel physically ill. I feel like, you know, there's the arm is missing, or something's wrong with me, and I
Yeah.
get usually in a foul mood because I feel that the day has passed and we haven't been in touch with something we love the most. You know,
Yeah.
something that oxygen for our generation, which was very, very lucky. So then, of course, tell me, there was another question, because not everybody knows the difference between Gnesian school
Right.
and the
Mhm.
Central Music School. As
Yeah.
you pointed out, your wonderful wife, my even older friend, I know her even longer than you,
Yes.
Elena Garlitsky,
Yeah.
originally, she looked up that same Shah Central Music School was founded in 1932.
Yes.
And then what you've described, which is quite extraordinary for me to know, that while all those Kogan, Bezrodny, Dubinsky, Sitkovetsky, and all the best students of Yampolsky went to Penza in evacuation during
Yeah.
the war, because Hitler was with Nazis were at the side of Moscow, ready to take it. So they evacuated most art organization, not only, but and they spent 2 or 3 years in Penza until they could move back to Moscow. While that was happening, your mother was working as a nurse at the
Yeah.
front. That's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
That's
Unbelievable.
unbelievable. So she must have been, if she's like Kogan, she was maybe 17 years old.
Yeah.
If my
Yeah. A little
father
bit. Yeah.
16,
Yeah. It's a 19.
19, unbelievable. No wonder Yampolsky was, I wouldn't say angry, he was probably very
No,
afraid.
he was
He couldn't understand.
shocked. He didn't understand how come. It's sort of, yeah.
Oh, I mean, she is a hero. She was a
Yeah.
hero. Because
So by the way, she never talked about that to me, about those years. Never. I
never
just
saw it.
asked her.
Never
No,
saw it.
she didn't. She didn't want. So, and the Ignatian school is just the after, I think it's 46 or something like this. But
After the war.
yeah, I think we need to clear it up. You know it better than me, of course. It was a two huge institutions: Tchaikovsky Conservatory, the Central Musical School, and the
That's
Musical
right.
College Merzlikovka.
Yeah.
So this is one institution, and another institution, Gnesian School, Gnesian College, and Gnesian Conservatory Academy. I don't know. Yeah.
Exactly.
So because I think it was, I think it was very the it was there was no competition between two institutions, only in a soccer field we played
Yeah.
the same shah Central Musical against Mason. We did it. Yeah,
Played.
that's
Yes. The football teams were
yeah,
very competitive.
yeah,
And also,
soccer.
I think also it's the situation has changed now, the perception of those schools. Of course, in the West, they cannot always make a difference. Oh, the Moscow school is Moscow school. No, it's not always. And in Moscow Central School, where I went, of course, for years it was considered, oh, it's the best one, and this is the most fair. But it's changed. If you look at the most extraordinary graduates of Ignatian School, now living in the West and becoming, great musicians either there or also in Russia, we find Evgeny Kissin, Konstantin Lifshitz, we find Alexander Rudin, and many, many others who went there. Daniil Trifonov also was from there. Sometimes they would go there and then switch to conservatory. So now let's move away to something else. What do you think? Now, what's the best one of the questions? What do you think? What's the best way for young performers to be heard and noticed today? Is it still competitions, auditions, or now more online material like website, YouTube, etc.? Because you obviously did your competitions in our time. That was the only way, because there was no internet, no YouTube.
Right. The situation in Russia, my time, was, I would say, totally different and maybe opposite. We didn't have any, we didn't think about the word casting, for example. What does it mean? We cannot go for casting to play for somebody, because we have several institutions. We have a conservatory, we have something on the side of the conservatory, and we have been chosen by our professor or the culture ministry. So we've not been responsible fully of our career. What we
for our lives.
Yeah.
Yes, for our lives, we didn't make all the decisions. There were decisions.
We didn't have any right to decide. Yeah. So, and maybe that's why most of us decide to go somewhere to just to see what we should do by ourselves. Just if we
could make decisions for our lives ourselves,
and
rather than party or,
and can we get direct estimation of our, I would say, gift, talent, capacity, possibility? I don't know. Yeah, so that depends of who is talking. Yeah. So, but the thing is, once the violin channel asked me the question. It was a very funny story. They asked me the question, Mr. Garlitsky, do you have the magic formula of success? And suddenly, I don't know, it's a stupid thing. Suddenly,
you thought of
the famous Russian, one of the best, maybe she should be in Hollywood, of course. Lyudmila Gurchenko, the famous Russian
movie actress. Yeah,
fantastic. So somebody asked, what is magic formula? And she told, and very important, she put it in this order. First of all, you have to be handsome.
Yeah, good looking.
Good looking. Ты должен быть красавец. Yeah.
Okay.
So, second, you have to be lucky.
Lucky. Yeah. Okay.
Third, you have to be talented, gifted.
Third.
Fourth, you have to practice like crazy.
Yeah.
So good looking, chance, gift. So, and I thought, unfortunately, the order is right. Yeah. Yeah. So
today.
And in 2 hours, I didn't have yet a Facebook, but in 2 hours, I understood what does it mean Facebook, because I've been in Montreal doing the jury of competition. So, and in 2 hours, I received a screenshot from Paris, from one of my students, and she sent me the page of Facebook, the screenshot from Facebook, and the man who did the interview. So you know how it is. So doing the interview with the members of the jury of the competition, the answer of the day. Mr. Garlitsky, do you have a magic formula of success, Mr. Garlitsky?
Really? Within 2 hours?
The answer, Mr. Garlitsky. You have to be handsome. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. And in the brackets, thick Russian accent. Yeah, it's very funny.
It's funny.
That's how it works.
I mean, of course, today, you know, I often give the juxtaposition of what it means, you know, the publicity that you need in order for people to buy tickets to your concerts. You know, it's weeks and weeks in advance, and then this and that. And then in those days, you remember those days, because when we grew up, when there was no social media, and on any given Sunday, like today, Maria Veniaminovna Yudina would wake up and say to one of her, you know, friends, minders who looked after her 15 cats, you know, that she had in her apartment. She said, I think I would like to play a recital tonight. A recital tonight on Sunday to arrange, I mean, anywhere in the world, it would be totally the stupidest, the craziest idea. But believe it or not, and you know, that evening, some club of, you know, railway workers, let's say, would be ready for her, and it would be a line around that building, waiting, clamoring to get the tickets. Usually they couldn't all get in. How is that possible? And that was in Moscow times. I mean, where the publicity comes, because Moscow, just as we always said, Москва села на телефон. Moscow set on the phone, which means that's all just not normal house phone call. And within 2 hours, everything was already in motion and going. That's extraordinary.
First concert of Glenn Gould.
Yeah, power of, you know, and we're talking about publicity and this and that. And she was not handsome at all, by the way. Maria Yudina. To say that she was lucky,
no.
One time when she told Stalin how she felt about, you know, the price, then she was lucky not to be killed. That she was, when he called her to ask what she did with the money. So, you know, the different things. But let's go to a question which is interesting, on one of our colleagues. Could you name a few role models that are reference point for in your life in general? It doesn't have to be, you know, violinist or whatever, any kind of, I mean, clearly we already heard one, and that's your father, no question about it. But let's say outside, role models, reference points. And she was also asking, do you have a polar star in the art of violin? Polar star, which means the, you know, the main star that we all.
Polar star in the world of teaching, you already mentioned. It's my father. Yeah. So that if we continue to talk about the magic formula, I was very lucky during my life. I met a lot of wonderful musicians and a lot of wonderful orchestras also. Because I've been the concertmeister, I've been in the concert, I've been a Moscow Virtuosi member,
Of course.
Well, the reference, the thing which I would say, the thing which slightly changed my life, you know, when I heard first time in my life the recording of Guarneri quartet with Rubinstein, Brahms Opus 34, the quintet, legendary. Yeah, it's still a piece of art. It's still unbelievable. So, somebody gave me the small cassette audio, and I listened to it. And the chamber music was not. It was a discipline in musical discipline as a theory solfeggio or history of music, but it was not something special in Moscow Conservatory at that time. And it was a huge musical shock for me. I understood that I want to be part of it. It's my way to be to be in the music, you know, like this. So this was my first chamber music shock. Of course, when I heard first time abroad, Gideon Kramer playing with Chamber Orchestra of Europe, the Mozart Concerto in Madrid. I went with Moscow Virtuosi in Madrid. Yeah, but he played all five, but I heard just the number 5 and Concertone for two violins.
No conductor, or with Harnoncourt?
No conductor. No conductor. No conductor.
But you recorded it, I think, with.
Yeah. It also was sort of strange feeling because it's divided me into parts. One part coming from Moscow Conservatory for the art of violin playing. It told me, yeah, it's not always very much in tune. Doesn't sound always very beautiful and nice. Sometimes it's strange. I cannot hear him, but I can hear the oboe instead of him. So sometimes he's playing with somebody. He moves a lot.
Around, and you cannot hear him.
Nobody taught me to do this. It was slightly against. And second half just went with him. It was like sort of scene. You shouldn't, but you cannot resist. So it was something which I would never forget. Of course, a lot of listen. It's a open discussion. I can say it's you also, because you I adore to learn. So you taught me how to deal with the chamber music score, how to be at the same time in the two different places.
How to hear.
Yeah, and also to travel from one place to another and play the same day the concert with a different program and be ready for that in advance.
Multitasking, multitasking.
So, and
without losing the focus.
Exactly. Of course, I don't want to forget somebody. A lot of famous conductor. Maybe we talk later about that. I learned a lot with such a name as a Mazur, Rojdestvinsky. The new generation, the violinist. I'm very proud to be very close friend to Leonidas Kavakos, which for me the example of a dedicated musician
of today. Not of the past, but of today.
No, of today.
Exactly.
And somebody who perfectly combine the old, I would say, romantic, conservative skills with the new commercial skills within the. So he is always everywhere he should be, but he never lost the love to music. Yeah,
For music. He
is
still considers himself a servant, a soldier of music.
that's
He's
servant. Yeah, that's
a
soldier.
servant, but a
Yeah,
soldier. Yeah.
absolutely. And he always, he could always cry listening the Brahms Symphony,
Yeah.
example. Yeah,
It
which
never
is,
stops to learn. Always ready to learn. Always
yeah,
ready.
yeah.
I think
So,
is one of the most important things,
yeah,
especially for young artists. Of course, you teach a lot more than I do now. I've been teaching a lot because of the, because of the pandemic. But it's so important to keep your mind curious and always learning from whatever situation we find ourselves. Now, that brings me to an interesting question here, because I'd like you to compare. You left Russia in 1990, from what I remember,
yeah.
and you uh, lived and worked in many interesting places. First was Lyon, your first position was Lyon, then Paris, then London, then Hamburg. You taught in Hamburg, and now you teach in Essen, as well as you taught in Paris. And of course,
Yeah.
you've traveled all over the world, but you've traveled also even before you left Russia. But you've lived. How different cultures you would compare if you take the best from each one, what you've learned from different cultures. Now, of course, you've lived in Paris for many years, so that's a great place to be. It's also one of the big centers. But what you've learned, and then of course we'll talk separately about the NAS, because the NAS is based
Yeah.
in different places and nowhere in particular right now. It exists online and on our Zooms and on our on our videos. But let's just compare France, Germany, and England, and
Yeah.
of course Russia, because you are a Russian trained musician. There's no escape
No,
from that.
that's so I might say that I will die the Russian musician with any passport. I'm very proud to be a Russian musician. Yeah. So,
Of
but
course.
when of course, the most interesting, maybe, and most stressful time was when I changed Russia for France. France was my first country abroad, so I learned a lot, and of course, it were everything. What happened in France was new for me. So when I came as a symphony orchestra concertmeister, I have 0 symphonies in my repertoire. So no Brahms symphony, no Beethoven, no nothing. Just some Mozart symphonies from Moscow Virtuosi until 29th, because after you should have a clarinet and bassoons. There is no clarinet bassoons for Moscow Virtuosi. So everything was new. Everything was new. Was very tough for me. Nobody really took care to make me comfortable. Compare it to London. When I came first time in London, everybody been taking care to make me comfortable, because they are highly professional. If I'm comfortable as a concertmeister, the orchestra plays better.
Of course.
Yeah, so the French people did not pay a lot of attention about my comfort, really. Nobody talk English to me. I didn't I didn't understand one word in French. And when I start to talk, to say some ridiculous words in French, and step by step they start to like me, and they start to talk English to me, which they start me to learn French. So you know, so it was, and also suddenly in France, the chamber of music world uh, uh, opened for me because I was quite fast to learn the new piece. Quite funny. Never discussed about the fee because I didn't know what does it mean. The word negotiate was not in my vocabulary at that time. So I was happy to go and to play. So
Yeah,
it was
you
very hard,
open
but
for anything. Open
yeah,
for anything.
so I have had a lot of chamber music contact, and I discovered the special group of French musicians. They are maybe not enormous instrumentalists, but they are phenomenal musicians. And yeah, uh, I discover such a the name as a Christian Evaldi, for example. He is a wonderful pianist, and it's a close friend of you. Yeah, so he is a wonderful pianist, but Alain Planès, totally unknown in Europe. A lot
Outside
of,
of France. Yeah.
yeah, the French pianists, they could play any Wagner opera from memory. Any Debussy symphonic piece from memory. I mean, it's a different sort of education. Maybe, yeah, maybe the piano wouldn't sound as Horowitz could do
No,
in terms of
no.
sound, of if Ivo Pogorelic, for example, is singing piano. So yeah, of Bela Davidovich, you know, it's a different group of musicians, but
Yeah.
it's sort of what I learned in France. You could be amateur after being professional. I mean, you can love music and
Yeah.
play for pleasure, I would say. This
Yeah.
is,
Yeah. Well, this is a wonderful. I think it's a very important point for, especially the serious, so-called the serious musicians. Some of them
yes,
are really serious, but you have to always maintain elements of amateurs, because in the word, which is a French word, amateur, yeah, there
music.
the root of the word is love.
Up.
They love something.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, many of our colleagues,
yeah,
I even heard the most cynical remark of one of your colleagues, but it was done on the other side of the Atlantic, but he's a European, believe it or not.
yeah,
He said, "What do you mean enjoy this? We're professionals. We're not meant to enjoy it." I said, "Really? That comes as a shock to me. Because if I ever stop enjoying the process, I mean, the only reason I go through all the hoops, and now it's 50 times more difficult once the life will start with all the tests, with all the quarantines and everything. The only reason I want to go on the road is to come to that point of rehearsals, of making music together, of these sounds, of this energy, of the joy, ecstasy of being. If I'm not able to enjoy it, I would never leave my home. It's much more comfortable. Everything's here. Why would I even go anyplace?
yeah,
That's not being a, so. But it's interesting, coming back to what you were saying before. uh, I just remembered a short story that was told by my mother, who was in the concert with my father, and behind them was Rostropovich, who, of course, both you and I grew up idolizing and adoring.
Yeah.
And there was a first concert of Boston Symphony in Moscow, 1956, first visit of an American orchestra. And as you know, all the Soviet orchestras would always come on stages in those days, like a army, everybody at the same time, everybody, poker face, no smile. They played together, they played for, but they always left. These guys came up by one, and you know they would even talk to somebody in the hall. They would just do whatever half an hour before, and so Moscow public was shocked. They never saw a Western orchestra that behaved like this, any Western orchestra anyway. So my father or my mother, they told us, I said, well, why? They asked Slava, who already played with them before because he'd been to the States as a soloist. He said, Slava, what is it that they're all coming out, not together? What is it? He said, don't worry. They play together really fine. So this freedom of expressing yourself when you're not actually in the process was new to us because we were used to this strict in this, but that wonderful stage manner, I'm sure that's what impressed you also when you heard
my father was, my father was at this concert, and for the beginning they had to play national anthem.
National anthem. Yeah.
And my father,
they never
at the C major chord, they did first. Anyway, you could not sit. You stand up. Not because of national anthem, because of C major chord. Yeah. So I moved to London. Yeah, I moved to London after and I discovered enormous musical life in London. Amazing. Normally I didn't want anymore to play in orchestra. I decided to quit the orchestra and just to play chamber music. And at the time I worked in 2 conservatories. So I thought it would be enough for leave, and I will find something. So, but my dearest friend Gordon Nikolic, and that time he was the concertmaster of OSO. He asked me to London Symphony. Yeah, he asked me to replace him, and I came. You remember it very well. My first concert, I think, I stay in your sweet house at Glenilla Road. Yeah,
Glenilla Road, exactly. Belsize Park.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I discovered what is it, the high class orchestra, this high class machine, and how the people in orchestra could be nice with you. It surprised me. Yeah, after each tiny solo in Zarathustra, even before the big one, there is some. My assistant always told me, "Oh, bravo, Boris! Sounds gorgeous, fantastic." Yeah. So I discover Wigmore Hall for chamber music, which is unique. Absolutely. I discover the enormous soloist as Polini, enormous the Barenboim, Christa Ludwig. So a lot of fantastic conductors. And when I stopped to play in orchestra, I went to Germany to teach, which is a different. Honestly speaking, when I left Russia, I supposed to stay in Germany. For certain reason, it didn't work. Because I always felt that Germany is a country where they take the music very serious. As I would say, as a serious profession. Nobody would ask you, "Oh, you play violin, yeah, but what is your real profession?" It's for the weekend. A lot of people play
Yeah.
violin. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a very nice hobby, but where do you work? Yeah. So
Yeah. How do you make a living? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I remember very much. I remember as it was yesterday. I drove you to the chamber music concert near Braunschweig. Braunschweig.
In Münster. It was in Münster.
Münster. Yeah. You played.
Yeah, it was in Münster.
You
Yeah. Yeah.
played
With Gerard and David
with
Geringer.
David
With
Gehring. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So
November 1990. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it was it's a small hall, not very small, but not very big hall.
University aula. It was university. It was just
University,
the main lecture hall of university. Yes.
full, impossibly full for the chamber music concert. When I pass through Germany with the Moscow Virtuosi during the tour. We played in a city I never heard about, and I still don't know if it doesn't if it exists still. The name of city is Dülmen.
Yeah. Don't know, but I've played in places which you will never find on the map.
Amazing hall, fantastic.
One is amazing hall, and two is amazing public. Public
Amazing.
Germany is the same in tiny places as it is in Munich, Berlin, sometimes better. Even
You always play.
There's no provinces. The public is always first class.
Exactly, exactly. So that's impressed me in Germany. That it's really serious thing. Yeah, yeah. So I felt very well there. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned, of course, conductors. Let me ask you about a couple of them, because you worked actually. You made music a lot with Mazur. You performed with Mazel, Haitink, Gennady Rождественский, Sir Colin Davis, and also Vladimir Yurovsky, one of the most outstanding conductors of today. What did you learn as a musician? I wouldn't say as a concertmaster, of course, you have a special view of how conductors are, but just in general, what new you could get. You don't have to answer, just pick one from them and you'd say,
Yeah,
well, that was
the
something.
thing is, the
Yeah.
thing is, uh, I did learn a lot from Mazel. I just play for him once, and I just understood that it's a absolutely unbelievable technician. A phenomenal. You could side read from memory with him. It's absolutely amazing. So but I didn't have a lot of experience with Mazur. I collaborate
Many times.
sort of 7 years maybe. So very inspired musician. Um, Sometimes the way of the communication, his way of communication did not fit with a London musician. They didn't understand his way. I think he never want to offend or even insult somebody, but his way of communication was quite direct and strong. Yeah, so sometimes it didn't work. Just to compare, once sometimes it happens. It happens quite often. Not very often, but it happens to me to come one bar early or to miss the entrance. Yeah, because I don't like to count the bars. I like to know the music, maybe to
Music,
yeah.
and
So,
everybody's
I need the good assistant. Yeah. So once I came one bar early during the Midsummer Night Overture. Yeah, it was a public general rehearsal with Mazur. So he stopped orchestra.
yeah.
He stopped orchestra. I play
Stop
night.
there.
Very nice sound. He shouldn't stop. Yeah, yeah. So he stopped the orchestra and he told me, Boris, you spoil everything. Even me, even my grandmother knew this music from memory. So
That's what he
because
said.
yeah, he said it. No, but you can take it personally, directly. It will give nothing as a result. But I knew at 100% that he likes me, he loves me. So it was sort of joke, sort of.
Yeah. He said,
No.
yeah,
So
just be on your best
him,
behavior.
I asked, no, so I answer him, I'm sorry, it's a shame she's not playing, I'm playing. So,
That's very good.
so
It's a
you have,
shame that she's here.
yeah,
I am
so
here. Yeah.
he has the
I
same
hope
reaction
you laugh.
as he was laughing, yeah. The same thing happened
Yeah.
with this Colin Davis. I came a little bit early, and before concert, I apologized and asked him, do not be worried. That's I will count everything. He told me, "What are you talking about? What?"
He had no idea.
I have no idea what are you talking about. I thought, no, come on. You mentioned so I came, and he thought, oh, you came too late. I thought you show us that we are playing too slow.
Too early.
So,
Too slow.
no, you want just to make us move. Yeah.
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 It's
Okay. So that's just
yeah,
the different thing.
it's
Yeah.
wonderful stories. Reminds me of two stories. Of course, one of Heifetz, who came in to play for the first time Beethoven Concerto with young Zubin Mehta, who was very nervous, how it's going to be. And this very, very involved orchestra, tutti is going. And about 40 bars earlier, Heifetz starts playing. So it was a shock to Zubin. He had to stop, of course, at Meister. I'm so sorry, but it's quite a bit early. He said, by my tempo, this is right. So with Heifetz, so it was too slow. Yeah, that was exactly what Colin Davis was telling you. Said, I thought maybe you were telling us that we were too slow. Yeah. The other story, I love that with this yellow card. Tell the story with Colin about the yellow.
Yeah. Also, yeah, because that's I was lucky to do 15, 20 times the
Royal
Hochzeit.
Opera. Yeah.
Yeah, the Figaro, the
Figaro.
marriage, the with Colin
Marriage
Davis
Cake.
and Covent Garden Orchestra. With I think the comtesse was Sally Isakowski.
Yeah, I know her. Yes, beautiful singer.
So, and before his famous C major area, there is a small recitative. Yeah. So, for certain reason, Colin Davis did not follow her. They did not understand each other.
Yeah. So
so we start to play, but before we start to play, my assistant put the hand in his pocket and show the Colin Davis the yellow card. You must know it was the time of soccer championship.
World championship. Yeah. So everybody knew what it was.
So, and Colin he was not at all insulted. No, offended. No, at all. He was absolutely surprised, and he asked, "It's for me?"
For me.
And the guy told, "Yes, and for you. And be careful. In the right pocket, I have a red one."
Red, the yellow. So that is beautiful. It's only possible among the London musicians who have that
different
fabulous sense of humor.
Exactly.
Now, to switch gears, let me finally come to almost at the end of an hour, but it's never too late to talk about our favorite group, which is, of course, Aeneas. And the question here, virtual, especially now, of course, we've been doing this, and it has a whole new life and chapter in our history. This is now has been almost a year. What is so special about the spirit of the group that in spite of the pandemic and all the external circumstances, we succeed in staying alive and creative?
Yeah. So, of course, you know, when Dima and Boris talking about the music, about the orchestra, about the life, the question about New European strings, it's evident. So
It has to be.
yeah. What's special? So I was thinking about that a little bit. So and I wanted just to find one thing, which is which doesn't exist anywhere but in AS. I think, or no, trust, the respect, it's fine. But I think it's a total absence of competition. There is no competition. Nothing to compete about. I mean, what for? Yeah.
What for?
So this is how could I say, it's a common how could I say, about the we're looking for the with this pandemic situation, we're looking for common immunity.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. It's like a vaccine, emotional,
more than 60%. So
emotional vaccine. Yeah.
So NES has a common immunity. So nothing
that's absolutely
wrong, nothing against something wrong, which is what is wrong in orchestra. I think that the orchestra, even if it's not permanent or permanent, the orchestra, it's a society model, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, exactly.
With all convenience and inconvenience. The NAS, it's not a model of society.
No.
Yeah, I think it's quite unique.
Yeah, it is utopia in the best way. Utopia, which means that because we do have, not that we never had it, but there were some people who came in and wanted to establish themselves in a special place. They came and left, no matter how talented they were. And, you know, what remained is unconditional love for what we do. And therefore, what to compete. The only thing we could compete is how much more somebody loves what we do than the other, but that's silly.
It's stupid.
One of our Eugene wrote, we have a herd immunity, you know, of herd, you know.
Exactly. And, this what you know, was not easy to come first time. Was not easy to come because that's when I start to learn to be prepared very much in advance. Yeah, because in Russia we have had a lot of time to practice.
Of course.
Much
more rehearsal time. Much more.
And in France also, the when you come with the French orchestra for first rehearsal, you could not recognize the piece. You cannot find out really which symphony of Mahler is it. I exaggerate a little bit, but a lot of time. So we go smoothly. We learn the piece. So the NES was a good school to be prepared for the London orchestra live for me. So you must be prepared, and also you must be prepared to being. It was a very, very good school as a orchestra concertmeister. Never mind which orchestra for me, chamber orchestra or the symphony orchestra. I don't see any difference really. It's just bigger. It's just bigger. But you have to be a musician. You have to know the music, and you have to have partners everywhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Many partners. Maybe it's much more partners, but yeah. So NES, I think it's a no competition and permanent respect.
Yeah, and support of each other. Support
Yeah,
of each other. I think
uh,
we've been most
yeah,
supportive. And of course, what does not come into question for you and I, it's a natural thing, but I don't think it is natural for any conductor and concertmaster relationship where before each tour, before each program that we do together, and it was then it spilled over to other orchestras. When I was with Ulster, we did the same thing, and whether we did recording or anything, you and I, we literally we go over each bar together of the program, not just each piece, but
yeah,
each bar. And it's not only for Boeings, but so we are on the same wavelength, that we understand how the piece is structured, we understand the style, and we understand what to listen for and how to phrase. So by the time we come to our first rehearsal, we will have done so much preparatory work. Then it's not only just knowing your part or knowing your score, but we know everybody else's part and
just
everybody
just
else's
to make music.
exact
Going back, just to be amateurs, to be able
complete
to be amateurs.
because and we love it. Just the other day, this week, we went through every bar of Death and the Maiden, which hopefully we will play in June.
Oh,
In
oh,
June, in 3 months.
all
But
right.
before I send the music, there's some things, and I've spent a lot of hours, erasing and doing as a result of our talk because we change. It's constantly changing. But to say that I consider it, oh God, it's wonderful work. That's where
Absolutely.
they
I brought it to London Field. We did it with Yurovsky a lot.
exactly with you see, so it does work with other orchestra. And I remember very well your first engagement uh, in English orchestra, in UK orchestra, was when I was music director in Ulster Orchestra in Belfast.
Sibelius.
In Belfast, yeah, Ulster Orchestra. And when I proposed Boris Garlitsky, who's in Lyon, you know how they look down on French orchestras because they're not as quick, they're not as maybe famous as London orchestras or English musicians, orchestral musicians. They're so fast, and he's also Russian. Oh, how could he be as quick? How could he understand our? So they thought I was being that I'm bringing my favorite,
Yeah.
yeah. And then when you came in, they realized that you were 5 times better prepared than all of them put together, and you were 10 times faster than any of them. So you became an absolute legend. And then
Yeah.
you went to Bournemouth, and eventually you ended up in London. But the normal mentality was, oh, how could he possibly be, understand how we are? If you said something in exposition, we immediately would write it in recapitulation, which is a good practice, wonderful. But it doesn't mean that English have the exclusive right for that. Now since
We can try to do it also.
exactly, since they do have exclusive right for certain type of humor, that I must say is very, very English. And that whole story with Yellow Card, I don't think anybody playing in Svetlanov or Kondrashin Orchestra would even now, with the music director, they could never get away with it. You have to be also a British conductor to have that wonderful sense of irony that he is also not from being laughed at. That's big of Colin Davis, that he took it that way.
Yeah, absolutely, because he has the same sense of humor. Yeah.
There is a question from a mutual friend here on YouTube. What would you say about the new generation of violin teachers? Your pupils, are they teaching as well? What would you say on that?
Not too many.
Not too many.
Not too many. Unfortunately, maybe the time will come. Uh, there are a lot of different I would say, different activities. A lot of concert, symphony orchestra concertmeister, the quartet players. I don't know, the Pierre Colombe Eben quartet. It's quite famous now. It's my pupil. The Belcher second violin. It's my pupil. Alberto mentioned he was a NES member once.
Yes, and one of the tours, exactly, I remember.
Yeah, and he is now in the concertmaster in the two orchestra in Köln radio and Liège. So
both.
So I have some youngsters, some the first prize winners, but comparing to the famous teacher as Zahar Braun, wonderful, Boris Kushnir, they have much more, they're focused to produce a lot of prize winner.
Yeah, but I think the question is about the teachers.
Yes.
Are any of your
but I have a different, I have a different, I think I have a maybe wiser, my pupils are not maybe only the prize winner or orchestra musician. They're also quartet players. Not too many are teaching. Maybe it will come maybe later, but nobody, I think nobody teach in a high institution for now.
Not necessarily, the position itself does not necessarily, guarantee great education. Some people teach privately, and now especially online, students of famous teachers come to me and ask me to give them lessons, and as it turns out, they haven't been taught a lot of very essential things, not only high matters, but also essential things. What do you think about teaching online these days? Because you and I,
I'm learning. First, from the beginning, I didn't like it at all because
of course,
you cannot get immediately the sound result. It could look well, maybe look better, but doesn't sound better. But I got used. I would compare the live lessons and the online lessons like sort of
different things.
Being at the concert or listening the CD. That depends how wonderful your CD players or something. It depends of sort of qualities, which is not very much to do with the performance. But there is also the live CD, which is wonderful. So I start to get used to online teaching as producing live CD. So I can walk somewhere, I can take the violin, I can, for example, bring the iPhone and tell, listen that now, for example, this recording, I want you to listen this. And also I'm learning a lot to use computer in a different way, which is fantastic result. I'm using iPad for music now.
Exactly.
My pupils, so to get result online, to send the result online, the pupil must be more efficient than during the live offline lesson, because offline you could say you are in a good way. It's slightly better. Doesn't work online. Should not be slightly better. It should be better. It should be better. So also when I ask my pupil to send, my student to send the recordings, it's a great thing. First of all, they start to know how to record.
You have to play, you have to make a video.
How to play for, and I told, I don't need any high quality micro. You put the iPhone and you play for iPhone like you play for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so imagine the me on a place, so you play and you send me. Of course, they practice better because they don't want to
be
send
embarrassed because
bad
you send
recording.
that
So
video.
they are more focused and more concentrated. Yeah, and I think when I'm absolutely sure that will be finished one day, all those will go to, so, but we have to keep the new skills. We have to combine the new skills. You have to combine the concentration of online lessons, because if you do the offline lessons, you can say, listen, okay, you come in 15 minutes, I go to drink the. So, no, it's not possible. Not possible.
No. And somehow it's also what I found interesting, because even though we are thousands of miles away or whatever, but we are also very close. They look at fingers if they cannot, oh, how do you do that? Okay, so here they write this. And then I could say, no, you look at the even technical things, you sort of on top of each other, and you are very, very close. You don't have that distance of a big room and all these wonderful lessons that you and I grew up with.
Yeah.
Ignatian's class was always, 30 people
Yeah. Right.
listening to this. Now, what would be interesting?
Now you have 30 people on a panel.
Yeah, you can have even sometimes more, 30 people watching, but they're silent and they're not, it's different. It's like there's no feedback unless they write to you or something. But what do you think we're going to learn from all of that? How do you see our lives changed after this? I mean, it's not yet finished, but it's beginning to, with the vaccine. How do you feel it's going to be?
So, first of all, what did I learn? It was a sort of so it was sort of checking of your resistance.
That's true.
Yeah. So how resistant are you? It's not the first time. You also pass through the period of resistance check a lot. Yeah, I remember when I traveled with Moscow Virtuosi after 10 hours of the bus trip, 10 o'clock in the morning. In hotel, I always took the violin for 30 minutes,
at least,
with the huge sordina, just to play some Bach concerto or fuga or scale or just caprice, just to feel myself still capable to do something. Yeah,
in running order. In running order.
Exactly. Yeah. So now also, so the each day you watch TV, you watch this terrible information about the pandemic thing, the lockdown, prolongation of lockdown, closing this. So, and you should decide that it will not disturb you to go farther. You go farther, you have more time to learn, and you have, I think, you have an amazing possibility to find the answer for the question. Sometimes somebody asks you, if you restart your life, what you should do differently? Here we are, you have a possibility. Now it restart.
It's a restart. Yeah, reset. When they say everything starts from the beginning. Let's have a reset.
Yeah. So what you should do differently. So I'll show you now what I should do differently because I have possibility. The life stop, it's restart. It's like, you know, it's like sonata form,
So,
allegro, sonata, allegro form. So now it's a, I think it's, for me, it's a recapitulation. So it's like, I'm, I hope it's a recapitulation because, so I will do what I did uh, for the exposition before this terrible development, which is 2020.
oh,
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. So now it's quite the same thing, but the key is different. You know, the second tema, it's a key is different.
yeah,
So yeah, you do different thing, and I hope that it will be only, it will be for the music, it will be maybe only first movement, no coda.
yeah.
I mean,
That's what I'm saying. I was
yeah,
saying
yeah.
recapitulation. I just said I just hope it's recapitulation, not the coda.
No, it's the first. No, it's the first movement of suite.
Yeah, the first movement of suite.
It's a
Well,
lot
I
of.
mean, we haven't been that, the music hasn't been around in the
Yeah,
form that we know. It's three, maybe 400 years. It's not such a long time. The music that we love, it hasn't been around for that long. But of course, we know times the greatest talents in the world getting together just by chance or by design in Cremona, and making all these phenomenal violins for about 150 years. And that was it. It was not it for making violins. They started making them in other places, and now they make them just as well down the road from me, in Hampstead.
yeah,
But yeah, a copy of my Strat, for instance. But the height of making violins remains remains 17th and 18th century, about 150 years, from Amati family till the end of Stradivari and Guarneri families. That was the height. It's like the high Renaissance, high Renaissance, where other things happened and other great talents and geniuses came, but that was the time of maybe 250 years, maybe, of the biggest names also living together, at the same time, Brunelleschi and Leonardo and Michelangelo and all these people, Botticelli, my goodness. So we don't know. And also we've seen in our life, we've seen the zenith. Maybe it was a recapitulation, maybe it was already a quarter. We don't know at the time. We've seen phenomenal uh, composers. Shostakovich was alive for 20 years of my life, for about 20, maybe 2 years of your life. We lived in the time of Shostakovich as one would live in the time of Beethoven. It's just as important, to be in the same town. And, the Moscow Conservatory, St. Petersburg at that time was Leningrad, the greatest performers. It's a different place now. Not politically, I'm talking about. I'm talking about as the center of talents. Now they're uh, everywhere, like you and I. You in Paris, I'm in London, and we have our orchestra from Seattle to Moscow in so many different places, over 20 different countries. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's not such a good thing in course of continuation and tradition. We just don't know. But what we do know that we have each other, and NAS is going on, and we certainly never been as close. That group of about 30, 40 people, 30 people that participated in all these videos, but also the others who could not, for various reasons, participate in that, but who support and who watch our page and our videos and participate, that brought us closer. So let's have a good cheer for the spirit of NAS. It doesn't mean that it's exclusively NAS, but that incredible perseverance that you and I brought from Russia, others brought from other countries, from Japan, from Israel, from Scandinavia, where it was all happening, you know, from Germany, from Holland, from France, from England. It doesn't matter where you come from. I think it's something that we've had inside of ourselves. That's the fire. You know, when they talk about the famous, you know, Promethean legend that he was punished by Zeus for giving humans the fire. In the pandemic, I read a number of books on Greek myths, wonderfully written, told by Stephen Fry. But the important thing he mentions that the truth, the gift of fire from Prometheus was more important, not because, of course, fire you need to keep warm and to, you know, to cook and eat and all that, but it's the inner fire that he gave to the humans. And that's why ultimately the gods lost this whole prolonged, you know, battle with their creations, which are humans. So not to lose that fire, I think, is especially relevant in our pandemic. I hope you agree with me. I know that we're always on the same.
I can say that we have at least 3 points from magic formula. We are lucky. I hope we are quite gifted and we work hard.
Question of handsome, good look.
We cannot decide.
That we cannot decide. As long as this program was well broadcasted and everybody heard or at least saw whatever is now on YouTube. I thank you so much, Boris. You know that we get together very soon on Zoom.
Hope to see you. Hope to see you as soon as
very soon. And thank you so much. And everybody, thanks for watching and participating, asking questions. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to YouTube channel. That's what they tell me always to say. Thank you so much.
Bye, my dear.
Very soon.
Bye.